On today's episode of Warehouse Safety Tips, we're beginning year 5 and we're talking about lift truck operations. So stay tuned. Welcome to Warehouse Safety Tips. If you're a seasoned vodcast viewer, this vodcast is going to be different from most that you watch. It's based around exactly what the name implies, warehouse safety tips. And since the people in this industry are busy, we know that time is money, so each episode will be as short and to the point as possible. And now, with all that out of the way, let's get to the vodcast. As we mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, this is the beginning of year 5 of Warehouse Safety Tips. We can't thank you enough for being part of all of our tips, and we hope that you're around for many years to come. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about lift truck operations and some of the tips that'll help you stay safe. So one of the very first things that we want to talk about is going to be proper training. That's going to be going through and making sure that not only everybody that is using a lift truck, but also around lift trucks have all the proper training as to the rules and regulations of your facility to make sure that you're operating as safely as possible. If you're actually operating the lift truck or the other vehicles in your facility, make sure that you are not only properly trained as to the operations of the lift truck, but also that you know all the safety guidelines, that you know everything about how to do the things that we're going to be talking about in the other tips, and that you are certified. It's going to be of the utmost importance, and not only that, but that you always have continued education as to what you're doing so that you're always up to date as to how to operate that vehicle and how to stay as safe as possible. The second thing is going to be equipment checks. That's one of the things that we were talking about that you need to know to be able to go around, make sure that your vehicle is operating at its absolute safest capacity, and that you are not only checking to see what happened on the shift before you to make sure that there is nothing going on that happened before you got on that lift truck, but that everything is operating correctly. If it's not, make sure that you inform the proper people. That could be your maintenance crew, that could be management, and that particular vehicle is not used until it has been repaired and or replaced. The other thing is that making sure that you go through and do your checks at the end of a shift, to where the person that's coming after you is made aware of anything that has gone on and or that should be checked out or watched. The third thing is going to be clear visibility. When you're traveling on a lift truck, you want to make sure that you can see all around you, whether you're using video cameras or you're using your mirrors and or just your plain sight. A lot of times the load that you're carrying will obstruct your view, so you want to make sure that you can see at all times. The next thing is going to be load limits and stacking. When you're loading up a lift truck, you want to make sure that you know exactly what that truck can handle. You want to know when you're stacking stuff, what the load limits are. You might want to know that, or not might, you will want to know that you want to put the heavy stuff on bottom and not stack things that are going to crush, damage any sort of inventory or just anything that you're stacking. And then that you are doing it in a way that the load is absolutely secure to not fall when you stack it, but also that it's not going to shift, fall, or just get upset while you're traveling. The next thing is going to be speed limits and guidelines of your facility. So you want to know that you are going at a safe speed. There's an absolute hive of activity in a warehouse, in a facility where there are lift trucks, and especially in a warehouse, because many times there may be several, if not dozens, of lift trucks just buzzing around. So you want to make sure that you are always very, very cognizant of your speed limits. Again, that you know the clear visibility, that you know your surroundings, and that you are always sounding your horn and letting people know, even if it's, repetitive, to the point that it's almost annoying. You want to make sure that people know where you are and that you're constantly paying attention. It's so easy to go through and get in a situation where you are doing something the same way all the time, and it gets so repetitive that you forget, and you either run into a pedestrian, you run into a pole, you run into a rack, or you just do something that, possibly drive off a dock. So always reset your mind, and always remember the fundamentals of what you're doing so that you can stay safe. And this is something that comes from one of our sponsors, which is Mighty Line Floor Signs and Tape. And that is when there is tape and other things that are on your floor, and just general, again, racks, poles, everything. If you have your forks lifted just a little bit while you're carrying a load and not dragging your forks or dragging skids, you're going to keep the lines that allow for people to see where they can go, where they can't go, and also where inventory, machines, anything are going to be. You'll keep those stripes and those lines safe and in the best possible condition, so that we know exactly where we can't go inside your facility. So thank you very much for being part of another episode of Warehouse Safety Tips. As with all tips that we give you, make sure that you follow the guidelines of your facility and any regulations such as OSHA, to make sure that you're following the specific regulations that are in your facility. We thank you so much for being part of another episode of Warehouse Safety Tips. Make sure you have a great day, stay safe, and here is a word from one of our sponsors.
It's scientifically unexplainable. It's virtually indestructible. And it's taking over the entire planet. But in a really good way. It's Mighty Line Floor Tape, the most durable floor tape in the world. 7 times thicker than average floor tape. Beveled to endure pounding warehouse traffic, and backed with a super strong peel and stick adhesive, so you'll never have to worry about painting shop floors again. Mighty Line Floor Tape, the only durable stripe.